All right, so to start off, I'm Colin Jones. I'm going to be demonstrating how you play fantasy football. So to begin, fantasy football has been around for probably around 15 years. It's just kind of just started hitting off in the last 10 with the internet becoming a bigger sensation. It just allows more people to play online, but you don't technically need the internet to play, which is awesome. So to begin, it is a fantasy game, meaning that you kind of control everything in the game. It's not like real football where you have a team and other people control things. You are the coach, so you kind of control that. To start how you play, you're going to need to create a league. You're going to need to get online, get on to ESPN, and you must have a minimum of 8 players, but it's recommended to have 10 to 12 to make the teams more even. If you have 8, you sometimes score too many points, which I'll get into earlier, which cannot make it as fun. So once you have your league set up, you're going to want to have your draft. And your draft is pretty much one of the biggest parts of the season. This is where you pick all of the players that you're going to want to have on your team that you think are the best. So you have to draft a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, a defense, a kicker, and you'll also have a flex position, which can be a tight end, a running back, or a wide receiver. So you have that draft, and it can be online or offline. It's pretty fun. It's probably one of the most exciting parts of the draft. After you have your draft, you're going to want to start inputting your lineups. So when the fantasy football season starts, when the first NFL game is played. So that first game, you start your lineup, and you're going to put a player in every slot that you think is going to have the best chance to give her team to score the most points to win. So how the scoring works is you can customize your settings for the points, but to start, you have your quarterback. If he throws a touchdown, that's going to be worth 4 points. If he gets every 25 yards, he gets 1 point, and every time he rushes, he gets 10 points. For a running back, every time they rush, they get 10 points, and every time they score a touchdown, they get 6. Same with a running back, or for a wide receiver, but they get 10 points for catching it. Tight end, same thing as wide receiver. A kicker, you get 3 points for a 30-yard field goal, 4 points for a 40-yard field goal, 5 points for a 50 or above field goal. And then your defense is kind of complicated. If your defense keeps the team from 0 to 9 points, they get 10 points in the game, in the actual NFL game. If they get 10 to 19 points, you get 8 points, and if they get any less than that, it'll go down by 2 points for every 10. So that's kind of tricky. So after you kind of understand the scoring, the biggest part is the NFL game. That's how you get your points. So you're going to want to start players that you think are going to have the best chance to score the most points. So going against a weaker defense, you're going to want to start the player who has the better matchup, because the more yards, the more touchdowns they get, the more points you're going to score. So when you have your scoring, the object of the goal is to score more points than the person that you're playing. And you have a matchup every week, one-on-one with somebody. So you're going to set your lineups. You each have the same amount of players against each other. And whoever scores the most points in that matchup gets the W, the victory. And whoever gets the most victories has the best chance to get into the playoffs and eventually win the championship. So we have how to play. You have your league, you have your draft, you have your lineups, and now you have your real NFL games, which control how many points your players get. So that's a good start. But then you have miscellaneous things that happen. So you have an injury to a player. So when this happens, depending on the injury, you can drop the player. You might have to change him out of your lineup. So you can either do this by making a trade with an opposing team. You can propose a trade and trade your injured player for one of their healthier players, and maybe he comes back earlier and does better, so maybe you get a better advantage in that trade, or maybe you can just drop the player. If you drop the player, he goes to this thing called the waiver wire, and other people in the league have a chance to pick him up. And starting from the team that has the worst record has the first shot at getting that player on his team. So that's one of the big miscellaneous parts of the fantasy football league. After you have your regular season goes along, you're going to go into the playoffs. And the playoffs is obviously where you want to be. This is where the best players are. This is where the teams with the best records end up. And, some people play for fun and other teams play for money, so it can get kind of competitive. In the playoffs, you can customize your setups there. Usually people do 3 weeks of one-on-one, so usually 6 to 8 teams make it, maybe 2 teams have a bye, and then you do one-on-one matchups. And the teams that you have the highest seed, so the team that won the most games versus the team that had the lowest amount of wins go against each other, and it keeps going based on that. So 1 versus a 6, a 2 versus a 4, 3 versus a 3. And the team that ends up winning all the way through that would be your champion. And so he would take the winnings from everyone. He would win the league.